Trump has made triumphant return, something only one other president, Grover Cleveland, managed to do much earlier at the end of the 19th century. Trump, however, achieved this in today's globalized world, becoming the second president to win without a loss at the age of 78, defeating the Democrat and liberal Kamala Harris in the subsequent election. The Republicans have effectively taken control of all political power, holding majorities in both the Senate and the House of Representatives. This gives the Republicans, and specifically Trump, a tremendous opportunity to implement their goals. But let's step back a bit. Trump's assassination has been attempted 3 times, raising serious suspicions that certain groups like the Deep State might be trying to eliminate an unwanted figure. This is not just my assumption. Many renowned analysts have suggested the same. Let's recall what happens when you oppose the Deep State. John Kennedy, who attempted to reform the Federal Reserve System, was assassinated in 1963, and his murderer was killed exactly 2 days later. I'm not spreading conspiracy theories, just pointing out a fact. Let's return to Trump. In my opinion, there is real risk that his life could be in danger, especially considering the liberals' reaction to his victory.
Family, I chose women. I chose America.
Moving on. I'm moving on.
Right, guys, it's time to go to bed.
Jokes aside, the reality is that for many Americans, Trump represents the last hope, especially as the global influence of the United States declines. This is due to unclear gender politics, political failures in Afghanistan and likely Ukraine, and the weakening economy. All of this is making the American people feel that country needs saving. Let's assess Trump's key promises. In the run-up to the election, Trump accused Biden of inciting war in Ukraine and of the billions sent to Ukraine during the Democrats' time in power. Trump claims that he will end the conflict very quickly.
If I were president, and I say this, I will end that war in one day. It'll take 24 hours.
Stating that he will meet both Zelensky and Putin. However, it's interesting to consider how exactly Trump plans to end the war, and whether the Russians will agree to his proposals. To understand this, we need to look at the situation in Ukraine. The Ukrainian forces are in a tough position. They are running out of heavy equipment. There is shortage of air defense systems, but the biggest issue is manpower. According to analysts like Jeffrey Sachs, a professor at Columbia University, 600,000 Ukrainians have died.
600,000 deaths now of Ukrainians since Boris Johnson flew to Kyiv to tell them to be brave.
Meanwhile, they are losing territory much faster than before. This research helps us understand whether Trump can easily persuade Moscow and get Putin to the negotiating table. We think there are 2 possibilities. First, Trump could make a deal with Putin that puts Ukraine in very disadvantageous position, possibly handing over all of Donbass to the Russians. Or second, Trump might actually have some leverage and freeze the conflict at the current status on the battlefield.
I am the chosen one.
However, it's clear that this war has damaged the credibility of the United States. The world has seen that Western weapons such as Leopard and Abrams tanks are not necessarily as decisive as hoped. So it's unclear why Putin would agree to a deal that is disadvantageous to him. This is where Dugin's comments are interesting. He argues that freezing the conflict would be a loss for Russia. Whether that's true is for you to decide. In our view, Trump will likely try to end the conflict quickly, but at the cost of Ukraine's very poor position. Trump's other promise is to deport illegal immigrants. Migration has become a huge issue for both Europe and the United States, with immigrants often linked to higher rates of violent crimes like murder, rape and robbery. Simply put, life in the collective West is no longer safe. During his first term, Trump took several actions to address this problem, such as building the wall on the USA-Mexico border and enforcing a zero-tolerance policy. In his pre-election campaign, his main promise was to deport illegal immigrants.
On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history to get the criminals out.
For this reason, we believe Trump will follow through on this promise, especially given that Congress are in Republican hands. Additionally, Trump has criticized Biden's administration and the Democrats for allowing men to compete in women's sports,
The bill will also make clear that Title IX prohibits men from participating in women's sports.
and for promoting education about children being born in the wrong body. One of Trump's promises is to overhaul the state's approach to this issue.
That the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female.
I will make a video on this topic from a psychological perspective, since I am psychologist by profession. Trump has gained a lot of support through this stance, and it's likely that under his administration, the teaching of multiple genders will be reassessed, with reports suggesting that he is already working on changing the education system. However, there is difference between what you promise people and whether you actually have the ability to deliver on those promises. In short, Trump's main goal is to make America great again.
Together, we will make America great again.
During his first term, America was more focused on domestic issues. The main threat for Trump was China, which nearly overtook America as the world's largest economy. Taiwan is a key American foothold in Asia, even though under the UN's purview, it's technically part of China. Therefore, if a serious conflict breaks out in the Middle East between Iran and Israel, it's likely that China will launch a military operation to reclaim Taiwan, putting the USA in a very difficult position. Trump will likely do everything possible to prevent this because his main slogan is to stop the killing of people.
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying, Russians and Ukrainians.
Whether he will succeed in this new multipolar world, as Huntington would put it, is difficult to say. However, there is one more aspect. China is unlikely to pursue war to reclaim Taiwan, especially considering Taiwan's significant military capabilities. Additionally, losing trade with USA and Europe would be a massive blow to both China and those countries. That's why the world remains chaotic. No one knows what will happen next. Finally, for Trump to make any meaningful change, he will need to create a strong centralized country and administration where progress and national strengthening can occur. He must restore America's international authority, which has been tarnished. If he fails, a confrontation with China will end disastrously, especially with the strong ties between Russia and China. And the USA will be left with no ability to fight on both fronts. The USA will be forced to make concessions. As Machiavelli said, there are no good decisions in politics, only bad and worse ones. Realpolitik is exactly that. Americans used to be good at this, but modern liberalism, which is natural continuation of classical liberalism, has led the country into a very difficult situation.